When she missed the last train, an unexpected cowboy ride revealed an incredible transformation. Sarah sprinted toward the train station, heart racing, desperate to escape the suffocating weight of family debt and social expectations. At 22, her worn-out shift at the local diner hadn't just ended with grease and sweat. It had taken with it any hopes she had of catching the last train home. As she reached the platform, her breath came in jagged gasps, but all she could do was watch the train pull away, its whistle echoing the finality of her situation. Frustration bubbled inside her, mingling with the impending anxiety of what her family would think. Another disappointment, another day of struggle. In a daze, she wandered into a nearby cafe, the scent of coffee wrapping around her like a warm embrace. Laughter bounced off the walls, a stark contrast to the turmoil within her. She felt invisible, surrounded by people sipping their drinks, sharing dreams over steam and sugar. That's when she caught sight of him, a rugged cowboy leaning against the counter, his worn hat shadowing a face that told stories of hard work and perseverance. Jack's eyes met hers, sparking an understanding that made her pause. It wasn't pity, it was recognition. He sensed the fire in her eyes, a blend of determination and desperation. With a casual confidence, he strolled over, offering her a comforting smile. "Long day?" he asked, his voice smooth but edged with sincerity. She hesitated, the weight of her family's expectations pressing down on her like an anchor. "I just missed my train," she muttered, her voice barely above a whisper. It wasn't just the train. Every chance of escape felt like it slipped through her fingers. With an unexpected glint, Jack leaned closer, a proposition forming on his lips that would change everything. "How about a ride on my horse? The stars are waiting for you out there." His simplicity disarmed her. A part of her wanted to laugh at the absurdity, but another, more daring part, yearned for the adventure. Why not, she thought. What did she have left to lose? Together they left the cafe, stepping out into the intoxicating night. The Texas plains stretched endlessly before them, an alluring mystery waiting to be explored. As they galloped over the undulating fields, the rhythm of the hooves matched the wild beat of her heart. With every gallop, words slipped from her mouth, the burden spilling onto the ground beneath them. She recounted her dreams of becoming a doctor, the weight of family debts, the scars of low expectations, and the relentless pressure to conform. Jack listened intently. The more she talked, the lighter she felt, as if secrets long kept were finally unleashed. Then they encountered a familiar figure, Jenna, her former classmate, known for her biting remarks and smug superiority. A knot tightened in Sarah's stomach at the sight of her. The laughter she'd experienced just moments ago faded to an uncomfortable silence. It offered an avenue to reach her dreams, but loomed as a chasm between her aspirations and her family's needs. "Do you think I could really do it, Jack?" The vulnerability of her question lingered in the air, as palpable as the earthy aroma of the land they traversed. "Become a doctor?" Jack's laughter was deep and genuine. "Why not? You think the world is filled with dreamers without the guts to pursue them? You've got guts, Sarah, a lot more than you think." The sincerity in his words nudged something else within. Was it doubt or belief? She didn't know, but the tug of possibility was at odds with the familiar narrative she had spun about herself. If she embraced this scholarship, it felt like a jagged break from everything familiar, which left her both terrified and exhilarated. In that tangled moment of contemplation, she announced, "I want to ride in that rodeo. They're holding tryouts next week." Jack turned his head in surprise. "Seriously? You think you're ready for that? I mean, it's competitive." "Exactly," she exclaimed, her pulse quickening. It's a chance to prove to myself I can handle more, to show I can stick up for my dreams, not just sit idle because it's easy." His smile was encouraging, lighting an undeniable spark within her. "Then let's get to it, partner. You'll have to train, though. Riding a bronc takes commitment." Her heart raced, exhilaration battling nerves. Was she really about to dive headfirst into something so foreign yet thrilling? The odds flooded her mind, years of comfort shattered, but what if she succeeded? The path to her dream could be clearer if she embraced this cowgirl challenge alongside her studies. And Jenna's voice echoed less in her thoughts now, partially dulled by a newfound inner strength. Both enthusiasm and apprehension swirled, morphing into a singular force propelling her forward, the possibility of transformation lying before her, tangible yet elusive. As they rode deeper into the night, stars began to pepper the sky like diamonds scattered across velvet, a cosmic reminder of dreams unbound. The notion of planning her next steps, training, preparing for the tryouts, fueled her determination, even igniting the old spark of adrenaline. But as they neared the edge of the open plains, the shadows of self-doubt lingered, ready to pounce. In that moment of bravado, Sarah was confronted with the reality. Could she balance this new venture while navigating her family's expectations? "Now that we're entering this new chapter," she said slowly, the weight of her words thick in the crisp air, "I'm terrified, but I also feel alive." Jack simply nodded, holding her gaze, as if he understood the duality of her experience. Sometimes living for yourself is the scariest part, but each stretch outside your comfort is a step toward who you really are. As they veered back toward town, her mind flooded with plans, uncertainties, and the intoxicating taste of potential. She was on the precipice of transformation, but how would she reconcile all the decisions on the horizon? The decisions felt monumental, cloaked in uncertainty, yet enveloped in the thrill of the unknown. But one question burned bright through foggy doubts. At what cost would she chase her dreams? As they approached the cafe where their journey began, a sense of determination began to wash over her. Tomorrow she would embrace the rodeo challenge, but would it mark the beginning of liberation or isolation from her family? Only time would reveal the truth waiting just beyond her next steps. The morning sun spilled over the horizon, washing the world in hues of orange and pink. Yet Sarah could hardly appreciate the beauty. The reality of her decision tightened its grip around her chest, a duality of electrifying anticipation and crushing fear churning inside her. Today was the day she would step onto the field, an arena where her doubts and aspirations would clash. In the quiet of her room, she meticulously pieced together her gear. Riding boots scuffed from previous adventures, a durable shirt that held the memories of countless rides, and her favorite belt buckle, a token of her pride. Yet as she surveyed her reflection in the mirror, the woman staring back felt like a stranger, one who was about to leap into the unknown. "Let's go, cowgirl," she murmured to herself, hoping the affirmation would drown out Jenna's taunts that reverberated in her mind. Each step toward the door became a negotiation between her past and what she aspired to be. At the training grounds, the backdrop of colorful banners fluttered in the wind, and the scent of hay and anticipation hung heavily in the air. She spotted other contestants, young men and women with the confidence of seasoned riders, each brimming with an air of familiarity that felt foreign to her. Anxiety gripped her as she approached the designated training area. The ambient chatter transformed into a quicksand of intimidation, threatening to swallow her whole. Jack stepped up beside her, his familiar presence a reminder of the promise she had made to herself. "Remember," he said, his voice steady and reassuring, "this isn't just about the rodeo. It's about proving to yourself you can do hard things." Beneath his encouraging gaze, her resolve crystallized. She had made the choice to chase a path that could redefine her existence, not just for herself, but as a testament to everyone who ever doubted her. She breathed in deep, filling her lungs with a notion of courage long buried. As practice began, Sarah mounted the bronc with tentative determination. The saddle creaked beneath her weight, an echo of her internal struggle. The rhythm of her heart quickened as the horse reared, an electrifying jolt coursing through her body. Instinct took over. She steadied her grip, positioning her legs as she had instructed herself countless times. Yet, this was not a mere pep talk. It was a call to shatter her self-imposed limitations. As she mounted the horse, the familiarity of the saddle felt like an anchor in tumultuous waters. The fear that once churned inside her was now tempered by a burgeoning resolve to not just endure, but to excel. She envisioned her past, the failures that taunted her, and the whispers of doubt that clung like shadows. What if she embraced them rather than fleeing? The whistle echoed, and once again chaos unfurled as the bronc leaped into motion. The initial rush was intoxicating, a tempest that threatened to unseat her. But instead of panicking, Sarah took a breath, recalling Jack's words about doing hard things. She deliberately shifted her weight, absorbing the horse's rhythm, striving to become one with it. Gradually, her limbs grew accustomed to the jolting sway, and an almost primal synergy between horse and rider began to emerge. In that whirlwind of movement, she discovered an unexpected reservoir of strength and skill within herself. For the first time, she wasn't merely surviving the ride, she was commanding it. Yet a flicker of doubt still loomed in the back of her mind. The whispers of past failures echoed anew. One ill-timed reaction could mean another fall. And just like that, the ground beneath her feet shifted once more. The horse bucked, and the world spiraled into chaos again. This time, however, she landed with a thud, but drew strength from the impact. "What did I tell you about the falls?" Jack's voice filtered through the noise as he rushed to her side, concern shadowing his features. "You're not backing down, are you?" "No way," Sarah replied, her spirit igniting against her initial reservations. The embarrassment was fleeting, for with every tumble, each rise became a testament to her tenacity. The doubt began to disentangle itself, shedding the weight that had previously held her hostage. The pattern of failure and resurgence began to feel less like a sign of weakness and more like the rhythm of her journey. Each fall was illuminating her blind spots, shaping her into the rider she dared to become. With each attempt, she felt a stranger-to-be reborn, a woman embracing challenge instead of shying away from it. After a few more rides, culminating in crafted perfection, Sarah stood in the middle of the arena, surveying the other riders. Their ease now felt accessible, within her reach if she continued to fight for it. Her breath steadied, and for the first time she recognized that she was not merely competing against them, but against the lingering shadows of self-doubt. As she dismounted, a surge of adrenaline coursed through her as she faced Jack. "I can take this on, can't I? It's just a different version of me trying to break free." "Absolutely," he affirmed, a glint of pride in his gaze. "But you know what that means, don't you? It's not just about skill. It's about facing the expectations that weigh you down." The real pressure is going to come from that. A wave of uncertainty washed over her as she thought of her family's expectations, uncharted territory lurking beneath her new courage. Could she truly face their scrutiny without faltering? "Let's find out," she whispered, determination igniting anew. With every hour of practice, another layer of doubt peeled away, yet with the next performance drawing near, she realized her journey was far from over. The pressure loomed ever larger, as did the anticipation of her family's reaction. Was she truly ready to confront the scrutiny that lay ahead? It was not merely her skills that would be tested, but the very essence of her identity, a blend of fear, determination, and newly discovered resilience. The time had come to keep moving forward, despite everything that had yet to come. The arena awaited her next step, but so did the weight of her past. The following week, Sarah awoke to the muted glow of dawn creeping through her window. The air felt charged, as if the world held its breath, anticipating something significant. As she stretched, the muscles in her arms and legs protested, reminders of her nightly training sessions and the bruises from the last practice. Each mark was a gentle nudge, a reminder that pain had become part of her evolution. She stepped into the kitchen, the aroma of strong coffee wrapping around her like an embrace. Yet her thoughts spiraled back to the impending performance. The idea of her family watching, their eyes tracing her every move, ignited a storm of anxiety within her. Would they see the woman she was becoming, or the girl perpetually shackled by her shortcomings? After a second cup, Sarah grabbed her gear and headed out, each step forging a path into the unknown. Jack was already waiting, his demeanor focused but encouraging. Today, it's about unleashing what's inside. Stand firm, he said, meeting her gaze with a challenge. With every ride that day, she pushed herself to translate the newfound resilience into action. Sitting tall, she allowed the heat of the sun to seep through her skin, empowering her. Each breath grew deeper, aligning with the rhythm of the horse beneath her. The runs were more fluid now, her heart quickening with exhilaration rather than fear. Yet with each success, a subtle undercurrent of doubt continued to linger. She questioned whether her improvements were enough, if the small victories could sustain her against the looming expectations from home. What if they still see me as the girl who failed, she thought, the internal scrutiny sharp and stinging. As she dismounted after an intense session, a thought crossed her mind, a revelation forming from the tension in her chest. Each time she faced the horse, it mirrored her struggles, the give and take, the challenges and releases, all igniting an essential truth. I'm not just riding, I'm redefining my journey, she whispered, allowing the reflection to settle in.
Feeling emboldened, she approached Jack, her voice steady. I want to push harder. I want to ride as if this isn't just a competition, but a declaration of who I am. Now that's the spirit, Jack encouraged, giving her a firm pat on the back. You're beginning to see the path ahead. But remember, each ride is a choice too. You can choose confidence or fear. With the sun sinking, Sarah remounted the bronc. The world dissolved around her, leaving only the thumping heart of the horse and the beat of her own pulse. Her breath synchronized, and with that she let go of reluctance more profoundly than ever. She entered the arena one last time that day, a determination thrumming through her veins. This time, the horse reared and twisted as it launched into the bucking frenzy, but unlike before, Sarah held on tighter, feeling the surge of adrenaline as her fears wrestled against newfound courage. As she maneuvered through the chaos, she realized that the swirling uncertainty had transformed into actionable energy. The session concluded, and as she dismounted, a flicker of pride surged within her. Each fail, each triumph, amalgamated into the woman she was evolving into. She could feel the essence of change coalescing, pulling her towards the performance that awaited. But as she faced Jack, the facade of confidence wavered. I feel transformed, but what if this isn't enough? What if I let everyone down? Then you'll get back up, just like you always have, he reassured, his eyes unwavering. "Will they be disappointed in the version of me that emerges?" she questioned. The stakes deepened beyond the arena. The weight of uncertainty hung heavy, but Sarah clenched her fists, promising herself she would face whatever came. With the defining moment on the horizon, she could either confront her family's perception or succumb to the shadows lurking in her mind. Emboldened yet apprehensive, she whispered to herself, "The fall is not the end, it's where I learn to rise." As the shadows lengthened, so did the echoes of her past. Deep inside, a voice sounded. This was her moment to seize. But was she truly prepared to unveil the layers of herself that risked not just judgment, but acceptance? The truth beckoned, drawing her closer as she prepared to confront not just her family, but the very essence of her identity. The time for revelation was fast approaching. Could she truly embrace the new Sarah, or would fear of judgment tether her back? With the sun dipping below the horizon, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that everything hinged on the upcoming day. Sleep eluded her as she lay in bed, the silence of the night pierced only by the sporadic hoot of an owl outside. Would tomorrow be merely another attempt to appease her family's expectations, or could it signal a breakthrough moment of authenticity? She rolled onto her side, battling restlessness. What do I fear more? The question danced around her mind. Failure or acceptance?
Morning came with a jolt, and she dressed mechanically, fingers moving swiftly, yet her thoughts scattered. She stood before the mirror, assessing the reflection that bore the weight of her insecurities. Instead of the girl who shied away from opportunities, she longed to see a woman unafraid to reveal her vulnerabilities. The transformation initiated through perspiration and grit had been tangible, yet this moment needed depth, an awakening. The familiar clang of the barn doors echoed as she approached, but today felt different. A purposeful determination sparked as she tightened her boots and recited her self-affirmation. "I am capable. I define my journey." Entering, she spotted Jack with his head down, engrossed in the reins of the bronc. He looked up and smiled. Without uttering a word, his gaze communicated a shared understanding. "Ready?" he asked. But it was less a question than an invitation to press forward. She nodded, feeling the tension turn to resolve as they mounted. As they prepared for the ride, Sarah focused on the sound of her heart beating in sync with the stallion. The quietude before the ride was filled with an almost palpable energy, and she could feel the horse respond to her steadiness. Taking a deep breath, Sarah took Jack's advice to heart. Each choice she made on that horse was a conscious move towards embracing who she was, bold and unyielding. The session began with fluidity. The syncopated rhythm of her pulse matched the hoofs rhythmically striking the ground. Sarah rode with a newfound ferocity, surging through her own mental fog. The horse twisted and spun, each movement feeding into her growing confidence. She was no longer a passenger of her fears. She had taken the reins. Each triumphant moment illuminated the flaws that had once clouded her perspective. She let go of her need for validation, exchanging fear for the thrill of unleashing her true self. It was liberating, like shedding a heavy cloak she never wanted to wear. For every falter, she recovered with grace, relishing the experience rather than agonizing over perfection. In the safety of Jack's encouraging presence, Sarah began to dissect her thoughts. What if, for once, she sought the approval that came from herself? Wasn't it time to validate her own progress without the shadows of familial expectations haunting her? The day enveloped her in a cocoon of possibility, and as the last rays of sunlight faded, she felt anew. She could claim her identity on her own terms, irrespective of how others saw her. Yet even as the dawn of that realization settled in her heart, a nagging thought remained. Would the people she loved truly accept the woman she was beginning to understand? After dismounting, they walked towards the barn. She turned to Jack, her voice barely a whisper. Will I be enough, even if my family can't see the change? Jack paused, placing a hand on her shoulder. It's not about their acceptance, it's about how you accept yourself. That's the real ride. As the air cooled with the gathering twilight, Sarah understood that even as the stage for her performance awaited, it wouldn't merely be about her skill, but about the authenticity she bravely chose to express. Could she embrace this newfound perspective, or would fear find a way back into her narrative before she took center stage? The answer lay just beyond her grasp. The sun broke through the mist of another morning, illuminating the barn with a soft glow that mirrored Sarah's internal shift. The air felt charged, as if it recognized her resolve to confront the day ahead, not just to meet expectations, but to redefine them. After yesterday's ride, the residual adrenaline coursed through her veins, feeding her ambition. Today, she felt like she was on the precipice of something significant. As she stepped into her boots, Sarah's mind was a whirlwind of possibilities. She had shed layers of self-doubt, but the specter of her family's expectations still loomed large. The lingering question of worthiness nagged at her. Could she truly transform her reality? Or was this just a fleeting moment spurred by adrenaline and the thrill of riding? Jack was waiting for her, his demeanor calm yet attentive. He had witnessed her recent metamorphosis, but as Sarah approached, she noticed a flicker of concern in his eyes. "Ready for round two?" he asked, his voice steady as he prepared the bronc. She smiled, a spark igniting inside her. More than ready. Mounting the horse felt different today. With each rise and fall of the saddle, Sarah connected not just with the animal beneath her, but with the purpose she sought to embody. She envisioned herself not as an extension of her family's dreams, but as the architect of her own journey. The ride began, the rhythm of hooves pounding against the earth, echoing her heart's fierce tempo. But beneath the exhilaration lay a persistent unease, the looming confrontation with her family. As she navigated the horse through challenging turns, sharp edges of uncertainty pierced her thoughts. Riding was exhilaration, but facing her family, that was another ballgame entirely. "Don't overthink it," Jack's voice broke through her reverie mid-ride, encouraging her to reclaim her focus. Just be present. Present. Such a simple word, yet one that felt foreign in the presence of judgment. Each breath became a mantra, grounding her amidst swirling fears. Accepting herself meant standing firm against the tide of external opinions. As the session progressed, she absorbed that truth deeper. Each ride coaxed out elements of her being, both raw and beautiful. After an intense hour, they finished, both horse and rider flushed with exertion. Sarah dismounted, a sense of triumph mingling with her apprehension. She turned to Jack, determination etched into her features. "I think I need to talk to them." Jack studied her, the weight of her intention heavy in the air. "You're ready."
But remember, their acceptance doesn't define who you are. You've already taken the most critical step. With each word he spoke, the doubt that had previously entwined around her heart began to loosen. If she approached that conversation with clarity and authenticity, she could own her choices. The more she considered it, the more she felt herself pulling away from fear's grip. The anticipation of her family's reactions ebbed slightly. It was time to validate her path, no matter their reception. As they trudged back to the barn under the mellowing sun, Sarah felt weight lift off her shoulders. Each step she took felt less like a chore and more like a commitment to herself. She could allow her aspirations to breathe and flourish outside the confines of others' expectations. Yet, even as she found comfort in her resolve, shadows of doubt flickered in the recesses of her mind. What if they couldn't or wouldn't see the progress she had made? What if her fears returned, this time more potent than before? As she stood at the barn's entrance, inhaling the rich scent of hay and earth, the very act of deciding to confront her family felt both liberating and terrifying. The impending conversation loomed like a storm cloud. Would it bring rain or a rainbow? In the stillness of that moment, a thought crystallized within her. The time had come to face what had held her back for so long. Sarah knew her journey would fully begin when she conquered this final hurdle. But the real question lingered. Was she truly prepared to fight for herself and articulate her new truth? Tomorrow she would find out. The morning arrived with an unsettling stillness, the air thick with unspoken words and hidden emotions. Sarah stood near the barn door, heart thumping beneath the weight of her resolve. Daylight filtered through the gaps in the wooden structure, an almost ethereal light that felt like a promise of clarity amidst her confusion. She sensed this was a pivotal moment, not just in the struggle to share her truth, but in her evolution as a person. Every step she took towards her family home felt monumental. The gravel crunched beneath her boots, rhythmic and measured, echoing the internal dialogue that bounced between hope and dread. Worries collided within her. What if her family's reaction dashed her newfound spirit? What if being true to herself ignited a storm instead of the calm she sought? Before she could ruminate further, she spotted Jack approaching. His presence was grounding, a familiar compass pointing her toward the truth of her journey. "Get ready for the next step," he said gently, his eyes searching hers for affirmation. "I am ready," she responded, more firmly than she felt. The words rolled off her tongue, and Sarah surprised even herself with their conviction. As they walked together, they shared a comfortable silence that allowed her to collect her thoughts. Jack's support bolstered her confidence, reminding her that she wasn't wholly alone. Each moment was a test, a rehearsal for the confrontation to come. Soon they arrived at the family's rustic abode, a place that was both sanctuary and battleground in her mind. Through the window, she could see her family gathered at the dining table, laughter cascading like a comforting melody that contrasted sharply with her growing anxiety. "Take a breath," Jack whispered. "You've prepared for this." The warmth of his encouragement thrummed through her as she inhaled deeply, centering herself in the present. Would her family embrace the new Sarah, or would they revert to the past, the daughter they thought they knew? She stepped forward, approaching the porch with hesitant confidence. Her hand hovered over the door before she pushed it open, revealing the lively chatter within. Laughter tapered as eyes turned toward her, their expressions morphing from surprise to intrigue. "Sarah, you're back!" her mother's voice rang out, a mixture of relief and curiosity coating her tone. "Yeah, she stumbled initially, then steadied herself. "I need to talk to you all." The room fell quiet, the air thick with anticipation. Sarah could feel her heart rate quicken, each thump echoing the chorus of her resolve. She couldn't retreat now. Sinking into the inviting atmosphere felt like a distant dream, but a new sense of clarity battled the old shadows within her. "I've been thinking about my future," she began, her voice stronger than she anticipated, "and I want to share where I'm at, what I'm passionate about." They leaned in, as though drawn closer by her words, a gathering storm of familial expectations looming behind them. "It's about riding, and this life I want to carve out for myself, one that may not align with what you've envisioned for me." The weight of her admission unfolded within the room, like the first drop of rain before a downpour.
Apprehension crackled in the air, but as the sincerity of her words landed, she watched their faces shift through various stages of understanding and concern. "Are you sure this is what you want?" her father finally spoke, his voice measured but gently probing. "I am," she replied, the truth of her statement slicing through the tension like a hot knife through butter. "I need you to trust that I know what feels right for me now. I've found something I love, and I'm ready to embrace it fully." Within her, the flickers of fear battled with a burgeoning strength, but the resolve that had been fortified in every hoofbeat over the past days coursed through her veins. Silence enveloped the room, pregnant with possibilities. As she stood before them, vulnerability draping over her like a second skin, she wondered, was she truly prepared for whatever came next? Tension filled the space, and she recognized that this was just the beginning of a new chapter, one where her choices became the brushstrokes on the canvas of her life. As her heart ambled between hope and anxiety, a question hung heavy in the air. Would they embrace her transformation, or would old expectations bind her once more? Tomorrow she'd seek not just acceptance, but understanding. The stillness that followed her declaration was almost deafening, as if the universe itself had paused to absorb the weight of her words. Sarah felt a surge of determination. This was her moment to wield her truth before her family like armor, but doubt still clawed at her insides. Her father's gaze bore into her, a mixture of concern and contemplation reflected in his expression. "Riding is a passion, Sarah, but it takes a certain kind of commitment. You know that." "I do." She met his eyes with newfound ferocity. "I'm willing to take on that commitment, Dad. I just need you to believe in me." Her younger brother, Eric, leaned forward, his youthful curiosity replacing the initial surprise. "What do you mean you want to ride for a living? Are you going to be one of those rodeo people?" Sarah couldn't help the small bark of laughter that escaped her lips, a momentary reprieve from the tension. "Not quite. I want to train horses, work closely with them. I've discovered something profound in that connection, and it's not just a hobby for me anymore." The more she spoke, the clearer her vision became, grounding her in a reality she had often only dreamed of. Her mother, ever the mediator, interjected gently but firmly. "But, sweetie, riding can be dangerous, and what about your education?" Sarah's heart sank for a moment at her mother's defensiveness. The familiar tug of expectation surged within her, threatening to undermine her progress. "I understand, Mom, but I've been thinking about my education differently now. If I pursue this, I can incorporate it into a study about animal communication and psychology. I could even teach others." The conversation hung in the air, each word punctuating Sarah's resolve. Small sparks of intrigue flickered across their faces. The potential intersection of her passion and education was beginning to forge bonds instead of walls. Could she not only share her truth, but redefine her family's expectations of her? Jack, standing at the threshold, sensed the shift. "Have you all considered where this journey might take Sarah?" he asked, stepping into the room with casual confidence. "What do you mean?" Her father crossed his arms, skeptical. "I mean, it's not just what Sarah wants. It's about the relationships she will build with the horses and the community she'll forge with her passion. This could lead to something bigger than any of us can foresee," Jack said, his voice steady and inviting. Encouraged by his presence, Sarah took a step closer to her family. "I see a future where I can blend my loves, where riding isn't just a choice, but a path that leads me to new destinations. I'm ready to work for it." The sounds of the family's collective breaths filled the spaces between them, a shared inhalation that signaled a new beginning. Moments passed as her family processed amidst a whirlwind of thoughts. Just as uncertainty started to seep back in, her father's shoulders relaxed. "Okay, I'm willing to see where this leads," he said slowly, a tremor of cautious acceptance infiltrating his voice. "But you'll have to commit fully." "I will," she asserted, the vibrancy of her conviction radiating outward. As they shared tentative smiles, Sarah could feel the bonds of understanding begin to weave together, an intricate tapestry shaped by dreams and the courage to pursue them. But with acceptance came the gravity of expectations. The very next morning would mean real action, training sessions, and finding mentors. It wouldn't be easy, and she already felt the stirrings of doubt lurking in the corners of her mind. "Jack, can we meet early tomorrow? I want to hit the ground running," she whispered, a newfound zeal coursing through her. "Absolutely," he replied, a warm smile spreading across his face. "You're on the brink of something amazing, Sarah." As she returned home that night, Sarah's heart fluttered with anticipation. Tomorrow marked not just a continuation of her journey, but a deepening of her commitment. This was her time to stretch her wings. But what if she stumbled? What presence of her fears would linger in the shadows as she began her training? She fell asleep pondering the risk and passion dancing on the edge of her truth. In the quiet of the night, another question surfaced, echoing in the recesses of her dreams. What hurdles awaited her on the path towards her newfound passion, and how would she navigate the inevitable challenges that came with pursuing her destiny? As dawn broke over the horizon, Sarah awoke with a sense of purpose coursing through her, a clarity that felt unprecedented. Today marked the beginning of her commitment not just to horseback riding, but to embracing who she had become, a woman who was finally ready to chase her dreams untethered by doubt. The air felt electric with possibility as she strapped on her boots, glancing in the mirror at the reflection of a person equipped to take on the challenges that lay ahead. The ride to the training grounds was filled with a heady mix of anticipation and anxiety. A new stage awaited her, one that would demand resilience and commitment. Jack was already there, his steady presence a reassuring anchor against the uncertainty of the day. "Rock, paper, scissors for who gets to pick the horse," he joked, lightening the mood. She laughed, the sound filled with the bubbling excitement of possibility. "You're on." As they geared up, the sun draped golden light over the arena, illuminating her path forward. With every stride toward the bronc, Sarah felt the weight of her choices morph into empowerment. She was no longer the girl burdened by expectations. She was an emerging competitor. Mounting the bronc for the first time of the day, each movement felt embedded in a newfound understanding of strength and balance that had flourished over the past weeks. The adrenaline surged as the stallion launched forward, the muscle beneath her radiating raw energy. Sarah was no longer just an observer, she was part of the ride. Synchronizing her breath with every powerful buck, she felt the freedom of self-expression and determination surge through her like wildfire. This was nothing less than an affirmation of her growth, a testament to her ability to rise after every failure. Even as the bronc twisted fiercely, Sarah held her grip, empowered by the goal of redefining her narrative. This was her arena, and she intended to conquer it. Jack's encouraging shouts echoed in the background, urging her on. "That's it. Feel the rhythm. Trust yourself." Moments before the bucking horse threw her off once again, she embraced the uncertainty with courage and laughed out loud, reveling in the exhilarating chaos of the ride. The air became charged with her spirit, every fall reaffirming her worthiness to pursue this path.
Each dismount transformed beyond embarrassment. It became a teacher of resilience, driving her forward even harder. As the sessions continued, the response to her commitment became palpable. Other contestants began to approach her, recognizing her tenacity and budding talent. Words of encouragement delighted her spirit. "You're a natural," one competitor remarked, their respect undeniable. Those affirmations fed her ambitions like sunlight enriching the soil. By the end of the long day, after countless rounds, Sarah dismounted once more, exhaustion mingling triumphantly with satisfaction. She faced Jack, her heart full, overflowing with gratitude for the growth they had embarked on together. "This is just the beginning, isn't it?" she mused, her voice tinged with awe. "Absolutely. You've stepped into your power, Sarah. You see that now?" he replied, admiration glimmering in his gaze. Yes, she thought, her achievements weren't merely about riding, but rather about proving to herself that she could thrive beyond expectation. She had forged an identity built on her terms. Later that evening, she gathered with her family. The dinner table buzzed with the details of her day, the impact of her progress spilling over as she animatedly shared her experiences. Her family listened, intrigue alighting their faces. Her mother even chimed in with thoughtful questions, soliciting insights that elevated the conversation, a welcome embrace of connection that hadn't existed before. "Maybe I can take some riding lessons too," her father half joked, a hint of sincerity lacing his tone. A wave of pride surged within Sarah.
She sensed the shift in their dynamics, and perhaps within herself. The realization that she no longer craved validation from external sources was intoxicating. The acceptance she sought had started to manifest, but more notably, she had developed a solid confidence that stood on its own. As she finally settled down for the night, the emotional weight that had once suffocated her dissipated, replaced by a freedom she had not known she craved. She had conquered her greatest hurdles, the confines of her fears, the weight of familial expectations, and most critically, the doubts that had shadowed her for so long. Sarah's transformation stood before her now, not just a dream realized, but a vision of who she aspired to be. Tomorrow awaited with new challenges, but she knew she could meet them head-on. She had begun the journey of living authentically, poised to embrace every ride life offered her. And amid the silence of the night, she whispered to herself, "This is only the beginning." Your journey toward overcoming your own barriers begins now. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and let us know you appreciate these transformative journeys. Comment your reactions and theories about Sarah's incredible transformation. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You're part of this story, and your support matters.